Superintendent for Student Services, and one of the things I'm in charge of is the Gifted and Talented program. So this is Kate Martin. She is our lead teacher, our coordinator of our Gifted and Talented program, and we're here tonight to give you a lot of information about our program, and hopefully we can answer all your questions. Before I do that, I want to tell you a little bit about our program. Just slightly less than 3 years ago, a group of adults approached our superintendent, Dr. Jim Schwartz, and they brought some concerns that in their local districts, there was nothing to challenge the gifted and talented population. And the kids were bored, they were tired of worksheet after worksheet, they wanted something that reached them. Good Friday, the day before Good Friday, this room was packed wall to wall with people that came in here about information night about gifted and talented. They wanted to share their concerns with our leadership team, and our superintendent says that he believes all kids means all kids, and we were going to do a 2 years ago, we did a research of whole year study, other programs, and going to different places and learning as much as we could about gifted and talented, and we created a program. And the very first thing we said we had to do was hire that great teacher to lead our program, and we hired Kate Martin. But one of the things that we learned when we were going out and learning about gifted and talented is that you probably hear on the news that one of the biggest reasons that kids have dropout rates is we learned that dropout rates isn't because kids are bad kids, they're bored kids. There's a group of kids out there that are bored with school. School wasn't reaching them. School wasn't meeting their needs. They weren't being challenged. There was no rigor. There was no relevancy to it. And we decided we needed to change that. So we researched and we decided to start. Last year was our first year. Come on in, guys, and there's handouts right over here. Last year we started two classrooms. Third and fourth graders, they were split. We had approximately 32 kids in our program. This year, we are grades 2 through 5. We have about 75 kids in our program, so class sizes is still very small, but it's very challenging, and it's very driven to help that individual learner. So we're going to be here tonight to tell you a lot about our Gifted and Talented program. We'll answer questions. My goal is I promise you'll be out of here before 7:30 and you can get your kids home at a decent time and get them some sleep, and you can get home and relax and also get some rest too. So I'm going to turn it over in the beginning to Ms. Martin, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Well, welcome everybody. Like Marty said, I am one of the teachers this year. We have 3 other teachers, so there's currently 4 classrooms, 2 are 2-3 splits, and 2 are 4-5 splits. And overall, just to sum it up, we have curriculum to challenge students. We make sure that if there was, actually, if I go back, really, if there was a word to connect with our program, it would be growth. Okay? So ultimately, if that curriculum is really at each of the students' individual levels, then we're doing our job. We're making sure that it's challenging and it's paced according to their needs. Then that allows for the growth. So we do acceleration. We do go deeper into the content in science and social studies. We use many different instructional methods in order to achieve that. So we have lots of small group lessons. We use project-based learning, which if you see on the screen is abbreviated PBL, so it's project-based learning. We use lots of collaboration, lots of hands-on opportunities. We have access to technology and Chromebooks. And of course, we try to include as much creativity and opportunities for students to explore their passions as we possibly can. We also use flexible seating in all of our classrooms. And ultimately, it's just using the whole idea of constructivist thinking, which means that you're creating knowledge through experiences, not just through worksheets.
We found that that's one of the biggest things that some of these kids felt like, well, you know, in my second grade classroom, the teacher gave me these worksheets and I know the material, and then all of a sudden the child develops the attitude, I don't like school, I'm bored with school, I know this, I have to do this busy work. And we found that these are the things that can set off our kids. And it can create behavior issues, it can create boredom in school, and many other things.
So a lot of people that are coming to this sort of information night are really wondering, well, is my kid just high achieving or are they really gifted? So we wanted to take some time and just talk about the differences between those two, just so everyone can understand. To give you an example, one of the really big things that I see among my students is that mastery and how many times it takes for me to go over the same content. And usually for me and my students in the gifted program, it might take me maybe once, maybe twice to go over a concept, and it's mastered, and it's practiced, and it's mastered. Whereas in a high achieving student, they're really hard workers. They're going to work and work and work until they get it and understand it, but it might take them 5 or 6 or 7 times to get it. Another big difference with the gifted learners is that they're super creative, they have original ideas, they think out of the box, outside the norm, and a lot of times also there can be some affective characteristics along with our gifted learners. Sometimes they can be highly self-critical, they can be perfectionistic, they can be very intense with their emotions, whereas a high achiever may not have that intensity and emotional variance. We also wanted to discuss quickly what is 2E. Sometimes you hear that phrase in education. We like to have lots of abbreviations. So 2E just means twice exceptional, and it just means a student that has 2 identifications, gifted and has specific learning disability. So really it's a 2E means that the data and evidence actually shows a discrepancy between their aptitude and their actual performance. 2E is not just an opinion or just something that if they have a certain interest in something. A lot of times we do have students who are 2E, and we do have that in the program. So that is not something that we don't have by any means. So why do we have this program? Marty went over this a little bit, because Avondale believes that every child matters. You know, if we're going to include everybody in Avondale, then gifted students need to be part of that. So we believe gifted students are those who can do things a little bit earlier, a little bit faster, a little bit better, and maybe a little bit differently, like we talked about, a little bit outside the box, and have that depth of thinking and feeling. And so they need this modified curriculum and a different classroom where they can be around others that are like-minded. Okay. So if I walk you through our day and some of our topics that we do, as far as math is concerned, each student is grouped based on their academic level in math. So, for example, in my math, I teach a 5th grade, a 6th grade, and a 7th grade math group, even though they are a 4th, 5th grade split. So within that hour of math, there's wherever they're landing with their achievement, that's the group that they're in and that they're working on. And really in all of our 4 classes, based on the students' needs, they're grouped accordingly.
And we have kids as high as some of our kids are actually taking math from Michigan State University. That's something that we don't pay for in that piece, but we help support. And the kids take math from Michigan State, and by the time they're done with their 5th grade year, they will have completed the high school math curriculum, and there's options for them past that as well.
For reading and writing workshop, we utilize 2 different curriculums. We utilize the Lucy Calkins units, which are in all of the Avondale schools for the elementary, but we also utilize the College of William and Mary. It has gifted curriculum that's really high, just really high for high ability learners, and it really challenges the students to think deeper with their text analysis. Again, we do small groups, and some are level, some are not, but it's always based on what the students need. In science and social studies, to go back to reading, the students are also expected to read on their level, whatever that may be. So whether they're in 4th grade, but they're reading, 3 grades higher, then that's where they're expected to read. We talk a great deal and put a great deal of time into making sure that they're selecting books that are content appropriate as well, as we know that can be a little bit of a challenge as the students have a really high ability in reading, but the books get a little bit more mature. In science and social studies, like I said before, it's really quite accelerated. The content, we go a lot deeper than what, say, a fifth grade curriculum would go. Again, we have a lot of project-based learning and hands-on opportunities for the students in group work. Enrichment is, if you ask a student in our classrooms, would be probably their favorite time during the day because they get to explore their passions. So if you've heard of passion projects or genius hour or things like that, it has a bunch of names, but we just call it enrichment. And this is just where the students have that opportunity to research the things that they're interested in. The students recently in my class gave some presentations recently, just to give you a variety of topics they had. We had one on the history of Monopoly. We had one on the Battle of Fort McHenry. We had one on can anything go faster than the speed of light? So it's all over the board, but the students love it because they get to research it and then present it and share it with the class. Like I said before, we also have lots of opportunity to use technology to enhance our learning. We do quite a bit of research, so the students do have an opportunity to become quite adept at using things like Google Apps and other online level resources like Khan Academy or Learn Zillion. And we
have more than enough Chromebooks that we don't say there's a Chromebook for every child, but the child is never lacking for technology in our program.
The students, if they're in fourth grade or higher, also created something called an online educational portfolio, and this is where they set goals and keep track of the products that they're creating through the years that they're in the program.
So I'm going to stop before we go into the qualifications, because this is some of the things I think parents really should hear. So last year we had parents that came up to us and they said, I'm really taking a chance. I'm taking a chance of moving my child from Troy or Birmingham or Rochester or even Avondale to put them in this gifted and talented program. Some of them were taken away from their home school in Avondale, and I would think everybody here has a child in the Avondale School District because this is our internal night tonight. And at the end of the year, we got to see many of the parents, and the biggest comment we heard was, thank you for starting this program. They thank our superintendent, they thank our Board of Education over and over, thank you for starting this program. My child's come home, my child's engaged, my child is so happy about school. It lit a spark over on them. A lot of it, I want to make sure I give the credit. The credit's right here, and our teachers, because they really challenged our kids. They made the content, the curriculum, so appropriate. They met the emotional needs of these young men and women in our classrooms, boys and girls, and they grew so much. So this year, we expanded, like I told you a little while ago, we're now grades 2 through 5. And we have parents now even coming from Macomb County. And understanding when you've got parents driving through these construction zones every day to have their children come to our gifted and talented program from Macomb County, it's taking them 45, 50 minutes on some days just to get here. And they said it's well worth it because their child is engaged in school. Their child is happy in school. And why I wanted to tell you this right now is that we just don't let any child in this program. We really take our time to make sure the child is a good fit for the program, okay? And the program is a good fit for the child. We don't exclude kids because of disabilities. We don't exclude kids because of language and things like that. But we want to make sure the child in this program can succeed and go places. And we don't want to put them in a position where they can't be successful. So Kate's going to go over what we have to do for you to get your child in the program. This will probably be where we have the most questions. And anytime you feel like you'd like us to stop and ask us a question, we will, okay? All right?
You brought up a good point about social emotional. Before we do this, actually, we do quite a bit of social emotional lessons and character education within our program as well, because we do tend to have students that are highly emotional, and. With gifted students, there's there's asynchronous development, where their academic development is developing at such a fast rate that their maturity level is kind of lagging behind a little bit. So we do a lot of lessons on how to work with a team. How do you make a friend? How do you talk to people appropriately? How do you...
Perfectionism.
Yes, how do you understand, how do you not compare yourself to everyone else in the class? There's a lot of things that we talk about and work through and give strategies for that are specific to gifted children, because it is quite important. You know, a big fallacy of gifted education is that these kids are just perfect little children, and they have areas to grow into, and so we make sure that we don't leave that behind as well.
So one of the things that we're committed to is your child as a whole person, not just as a student. And we have a social worker in our program. Our social worker is very unique. She's gone through training at Ball State University with regards to gifted and talented, so she understands the needs of students that are gifted and talented. Our teachers have backgrounds in gifted and talented programs. Again, they get a lot of training from Kate Martin, so they have an understanding as well. But again, your child is more important to us than a test score. I don't know if you've ever seen, but as a district, we say that we're more than test scores, and we truly try to be more than just about test scores. So we want to make sure your child is well-rounded and has everything they need to be successful, not just the academic piece.
So the best ways that we can determine eligibility for students are a few different ways. Number one, to get the ball rolling, you're going to want to fill out the parent nomination form, and that was one of the forms that you collected tonight.
If you didn't grab one, they have them right over here.
And this should be submitted during the application window to Hillary Olance. She couldn't be here tonight, but her email is at the top of that page. And she handles all the paperwork related to the program and can answer questions for you if you have them. And she can ask me if she can't answer them, or Marty. But that's the most important thing to get started and to submit. If you see the other sheet you have, there's some dates on it. And if you notice,
so we're saying is that you can submit it earlier, but between November 1st and November 15th is when we need to have
the internal window,
applications in.
November 1st through November 15th, submit everything to
This piece is
Hillary.
very important, parents. So we always take care of our Avondale kids first. They're important to us. But after that, we have to go to our Board of Education and say we have X amount of seats that Avondale kids did not fill. And we go out and we get schools of choice. And we have to get permission from our Board of Education. There's a legal process we go through. So to call us in May and say, I changed my mind, we can't do that. Because one of the things we pride ourselves in lower class numbers. We want the numbers to be appropriate, a smaller learning environment so your child can grow. So it's a big decision, but you have some time. You've got till November 15th to turn your application in. Last year we had a lot of parents waiting to the very last second. And then we had some that said, well, I'm just not ready right now, but maybe I'll come back in January. Again, I can't take them in January from you, okay? So if you're an internal, if you're an Avondale parent, is anybody not an Avondale parent right now here? We can talk afterwards because we have a schools of choice process that we go through, okay? We need to have your application by the 15th of November, okay? All right.
So the parent nomination form is very important. The second thing that we'll take a look at once you have submitted that is your child's MAP or NWEA MAP scores, and they've already taken those if they're an internal applicant at their school already. And hopefully you should have gotten some sort of report from the school that had their scores on it. Typically, we look at students that are 90 to 95th percentile or higher, and that's a comparison of other students within their same grade and age. We also have the students do an on-demand creative writing task, and that for internal candidates, there'll be a teacher that will actually go to each of the elementary schools, and they'll do that right at school. So really the only thing that you, as an internal applicant, would need to submit is that parent nomination form. We do accept other additional components. If you have an official IQ score from a psychologist,
Or psychiatrist.
it has to be less than 18 months old, and the child has to be age 7 or above. There's a lot of research that shows that anything earlier than that, like kindergarten, even first grade, the IQ score tends to be a little bit inaccurate. So we would like that for it to be age 7 or above if you do have that.
So the one thing I also want to stress is that we're not mandating an IQ test, okay? We would use it as part of the selection process if you provide it. IQ testing can cost anywhere from $300 to $1,200, okay? Again, we're not mandating it, but if you feel it's something that you want, you're welcome to submit it, okay? But we're not making you submit that piece.
We also have an optional teacher nomination form if you'd like to give that to your child's teacher that's currently there or from the past. Do you have any questions about these? Yep.
If it's based on the score, should we turn on still the application?
We have all your, if you're an Avondale child, we have all your child scores.
But you still need to submit the parent nomination form so
still?
we know that you're interested in it and want us to pull those scores.
Okay.
So that's for sure the thing that you need to submit.
Okay.
Yes.
We live in the Avondale district, but our children go to a private school right now. So how would we set up that task? Because they obviously do.
So the email address on there, Hillary Olance, you can just email her and she'll set it up with you
Okay.
with a convenient day and time.
Okay, thank you.
So does your school give the MAP testing? Okay, we'll work on that with you. We understand we do have residents that are looking to come back, so we'll work on that with you.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm. Good question. Anyone else? All right.
Okay.
So I want to talk about one other piece. So some people know the program is at Woodland right now. We are looking to move the program next year. We're looking to move the program because we've outgrown Woodland. We have 4 gifted and talented classrooms. Next year we're looking at 6 to 8 classrooms, and we're going to relocate to Meadows. If you're not familiar with Meadows is on Auburn. It's just east of Crooks, between Livernois and Crooks. We have a wing that's specifically designed for our gifted and talented. We're going to have rooms that they can go in and be creative with. We have computer labs. It's just a great environment for our gifted and talented magnet program. Next year, we're going to be 2nd through 6th grade. And then the year after that, we will be 2nd through 7th grade. And eventually, we will be a 2nd through 8th grade. So I'm going to beat you to a question, because parents are going to say, what happens when my kid gets to high school? So first off, if your kid is in high school, they are very, very lucky because we have so many different options for your child. From dual enrollment with colleges and universities to international baccalaureate programs that we have in the county to honors and AP classes that we offer at the high school. Your child will have many, many options in order to move forward. One of the things that we have, I don't know if you guys have seen the Detroit News, Martin Ballard is our computer science teacher. He was the Oakland County Teacher of the Year. We are right now the only school district in this area where a child could leave Avondale High School and go in the job market at a minimum of $100,000 and be certified in every area of Microsoft and MicroWorks, something like that. It's amazing. And there's companies right now trying to hire our kids in this program right now for summer work and permanent work. So we're very proud of the options that your children will have when they get to high school.
So sticking with the medicine, we'll come back to the dates here. You have a packet that is behind the front sheet. And this packet has some frequently asked questions regarding the program and also our move to Meadows. Specifically, just about the changes that will happen, about how we are planning to partner with the MSU GATE program, which is their gifted and talented education. We'll have options, Marty mentioned this previously, for students to enroll if they choose for a cost, obviously since it's through a university. to have accelerated math or ELA classes. It talks a little bit about how we're going to integrate with the middle school, and it also has some of the dates that we mentioned before is on the very back page. And also a little bit of what Marty mentioned about what does Avondale offer for gifted students beyond 8th grade as well. So this is a good frequently asked questions sheet for you to, I'm not going to go through it with you, but in your own time it would be a good place to start to familiarize a little bit yourself with the program.
So let me go over a few things that I know that you'll probably go home tonight and say, well, I'm an Avondale resident and my child currently takes the bus to school because of my job hours. It may be difficult. We're working in hand with our middle school, so we're going to be very close to our middle school schedule. Many districts have middle school and elementary children riding the buses together. It's not that you have to have your child, but we are going to allow children to ride the bus. And so there will be transportation in district for our students if they need it. Again, we want to be upfront and honest. This will be a bus with some middle school kids on it as well. Okay. If you're a school of choice, we don't provide transportation to schools of choice. But our times that we're looking at, approximate times are in there. Kids will have access to clubs just like they would in their elementary school. There'll be a PTO. All those little things that you would want in your elementary school we will have just like any other school. Questions? Yes?
This going to be for second graders? Yeah.
Second graders.
So I should have did this last year.
You could have done it last year. Yep.
Yes, I was still, I got on the school, to the early school, to the school, and junior, Abigail, the kindergarten, and she will be doing, and he worked with her, and, you know, I estimated she should have first grade, grade, first grade, again, because she's still here, and knows to be studying, and knows what they're on to, and is going to take second grade, now,
So I would definitely apply for this cycle.
okay, so it's not like, oh, no, we're gonna go through.
No.
No.
Not at all. Not at all. Yes, ma'am.
So, what if, the IQ score is considered gifted, but the child, my daughter, is not a great test taker? So what if that percent is not above 90 or 95, but the IQ score is considered highly gifted?
So the best thing to tell you is we have a team of people, including psychologists, social workers, people on it, and we look at all aspects of the child. And we may ask you to submit some more information to us. We may ask for other things. We have children in that realm right now. Again, the IQ is not the only piece that we accept. There are some gifted programs that say if you have an IQ of this, you're automatically in. But we want to look at the whole child. Okay? So we're not saying yes, we're not saying no. We may ask you for more information to submit to us. Yep. Good question. Any other questions? Yes?
My son's on the spectrum, and he's extremely gifted in math, but he has an expressive deficit, so the language piece, that's the part that I'm not sure that would be a fit for him, although his reading is really high, the writing part.
Yeah, so we have other kids who are on the spectrum, as autism spectrum disorder. So we have other children, ASD, that are in the program, kids that have sensory problems. We look at that, and it's not that we say no. We want to make sure it's a good fit for your child in the program. So we look at each case on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah,
Yep.
it looks great. He's so well with it.
Yeah. That's why we have such a well-rounded team, and some of our people specialize in autism that are on the selection team, and they know it as well. Yep.
We do like, though, for the students to be able to be within our classroom for at least 90% of the day. You know, if they have pull-out services and things that are pretty extensive, it's hard for us to,
Keep them on pace.
yeah. So, I mean, that is something to consider too, based on what their IEP has.
That's all right.
Sarah, if you answer this, I would think.
That's all right.
How do you divide them by ages, the lower L or L?
We line everybody up height.
No.
No. So that's one of the most important things, and it's probably one of the hardest. I don't want to put Kate in the spot. But Kate will know more about your child than probably their current teacher before the school year starts next year, as well as our team of teachers. And they're going to make sure that we try to find the best placement. So we're gonna be upfront and honest, we're not gonna sit there and say that every kid that's a second grader is gonna be in a second grade classroom. Some might be a second, third split. They look at so many different factors in placing kids. And it's not something they just sit there in a meeting in 5 minutes, we're gonna put it this way. They really look at things to make sure your child is correctly placed. They're gonna look at the data, the test scores, everything. They're gonna try to get to know your child. There's gonna be some events after we have all this in the spring with our gifted, even schools of choice gifted and talented kids where they come in, they'll get to meet them some more. And then they look really hard about placement. Yep. But I do like the idea if you line them shortest to tallest and then count off by you get a. Nobody's really laughing at my jokes. Thank you, somebody did over here. All right, anything else? Any other questions? Yes, sir.
So the teacher nomination form will be with teachers?
Yep, you can do that. It's not mandatory, but it does help us.
It'll be posted on our website, once the application window opens.
Yes, ma'am.
So, program, that's for next year?
Yep.
2019, 2020.
Yep.
And instead of like, she's going next year to middle school, but she's already taking advanced math for 6th grade.
Mhm.
So next year, she's not going to middle school, she will start with the new class.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep, if she's accepted to the program, she would be with the gifted and talented at Meadow.
okay.
Yep, but some of our kids may be going to the middle school for a specialized class that we don't have there.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Yeah, I mean, like, if, basically anything lower than Algebra 1, she'd stay with us. And then, you know, it really depends on our numbers and what we can have at our school and what they would need to go to the middle school for. You know, ideally, we'd really love them to be with us as much as possible, but there's just realistically some things we can't provide based on how many students need those classes.
so here's a great example. We don't want to deny it. You know, I come from a family, I was the only kid kicked out of the band, okay? Brothers and sisters, award-winning players, me kicked out. We know that there's kids who say, boy, 6th grade, I want to get in the band. We're going to make the opportunities they can participate in the band and in instrumental music at our middle school. Yeah. What other questions do you have? Yes, that's okay.
Alright.
This is about, guys, you don't have to apologize by questions because this is about your children.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, the only other gifted school that I'm familiar with is Roper. So, you know, they have special with the children who choose in the afternoon, dance or theater design and all that. So, again, I'm sorry if you addressed that at the beginning, but do you have that capability because this is still public school, not private, to offer specials like that?
So let me first go back. First off, Roper is no longer a gifted and talented school. We've had a number of kids apply to us that actually couldn't even get in from Roper. Roper's a great school, I'm not knocking it. It's a beautiful school. They do a magnificent job. We don't charge. This is no money out of your pocket for this program, okay? And we get what the state gives us for it. So we don't have the ability to create a lot of special classes based on parent paying tuition.
Sure.
But we do have opportunities, okay? So, you know, we're gonna make opportunities. Again, if we don't have it and our middle school does have it, we'll make sure that your child can be part of that in our middle school. So in our middle school, if you're not familiar, is about 200